Good morning.
What was that? What were you saying?
I was singing to the music.
Good morning.
You don't know me.
I know you.
It is Saturday. Yes, we made it. We made it to Saturday. It is the weekend and day 5 of our discussion this week on finding our way back from heart disease. So welcome. And we're excited you're here. First things first.
I'm still trying to wake up,
Before,
guys.
yeah,
Sorry.
we slept in this morning a little bit when it snowed today. And I'm not awake yet.
We're thinking that we're teenagers and staying up super, super late.
We were up till midnight last night, y'all. And
that's not compared to how we used to.
I was going to say, there's a time in my life where that was when it began. Like, that's not even late. Good morning, Monica. Good morning. Remember, Monica, when midnight was early and not late? Remember that? All those times in our lives we don't want to remember or can't remember.
Operating on like very
zero sleep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then we had babies, and then you do it all over again, but it's fun.
No, it isn't, is it? That's true.
You're like, oh, it's midnight. And except for I'm feeding a child. I'm not partying, but that's okay.
You were a partier? No.
Me? Mm-mm.
You just let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah. Hey, good morning, Annie. How are you?
Good morning.
She always has the sunshines next to her name. I love that. It's Annie the Sunshine Right. That's right. So today is day 5, and
that's her fighter name.
It's Annie the Sunshine Right. It's your music. Anyway, I was trying to say it's day 5, and I want to make sure you guys are aware of the link for the text that we're using this week. So make sure you click the link in the I was going to say the discussion, the description, vocabulary. It's not my suit today. The description. Make sure you're clicking that link because that'll take you to the YouVersion Bible app, which will allow you to download the YouVersion Bible app. And then if you haven't already, and then if you don't want to download an app, if you're not on mobile, make sure you go to the link on your desktop. You don't have to do that there. It'll just take you right to the devotional, and you don't have to download anything. But this way you can follow along with us on the text that we're reading, on the prompts that we're using, and the study that we're on. So any given week, it's always the link to the specific discussion that we're having.
Right. And if you are new to our broadcast, my name is Javie.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm now I just throw it to you. We are with Underdog Ninja, and here at Underdog Ninja, Tuesday through Saturday, we focus on our foundation, our faith. But our faith then leads us to our building our character. And none of that is any good without taking that action, right? So we believe on those 3 things: faith, character, and action. Those are the keys to that we believe are to live a happy and full life when you're fighting heart disease. And so we come here, discuss what God has for us every morning.
Absolutely.
And we discuss that with you. And it's just been a great blessing.
Well, it's been absolutely amazing because what started out as something that we just wanted to share with you that we were already doing every morning for years, God really led us to share this with all of you. And we don't read ahead. We just choose the ones that we think are relevant. We look at the summaries and say, well, is that something that you think everybody would, get help from, get value from? Would that be helpful? And then we don't read ahead. We don't go into it. We don't do the study. We wait, and then we do it with you so that God can really, truly speak right into it in the moment, which has been really amazing because it works.
Right.
Monica is... What'd she say? Good morning. Oh, she's saying good morning to everyone else. Everybody. Good morning. Everyone's having little conversations.
Yep. I'm sorry. I just feel like my energy's down. It's because I don't.
Well, we didn't sleep very well either.
The thing is it's allergy season. You weren't feeling well.
Oh,
by the
man.
way,
yeah.
How's your headache this morning?
Well, I figured out yesterday I had a raging sinus headache yesterday, and I normally don't get allergies. like not really. I'm not an allergy person. And yesterday, I mean, I felt like balloon face. I was like, oh, what's up, guys? Like I didn't talk that way, but I mean, I should have. Like from the way I felt, I was like, I'm a balloon. Yeah. And it was just like, I felt like I had a friend tell me last night, I video chatted her and was like talking to her about business stuff. And she was watching my face and I go, look I have this ridiculous sinus headache. Look at my eyes. And she goes, yes, but it's like you have Botox or fillers and you just go get sinus infections and you look beautiful. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that I took such good care of myself. Anyway, but it's like, yeah. So I must
weird conversations.
I do have weird conversations with my friends, and that's why they're my friends. I had some weird allergy stuff going on recently, and I sneeze like 35 times a minute. I swear, it's such an exaggeration.
Well, it started yesterday. Remember yesterday's devotional? You were sneezing. I even had to hit the
mute.
Yeah.
I mean, but
so
it's been like
frighten people.
It's been like I frighten people. It is true. I sneeze and my kids jump, and they're like, "God."
He shook the table and everything.
But for those of you who don't know, this man sneezes like a jackhammer. It's like not a jackhammer. Well, kind of, but it's like a machine gun. Call you machine gun madrigal. He sneezes like 7 times in a row. Monica, he's like do, and like he gets them all out of the way. Meanwhile, I'm doing it over like an hour's time, so I can't have a conversation or think. So I'm just
really
sneezing.
Dangerous when you're driving.
Yeah,
because you get all lightheaded.
I've had to grab the wheel when you're sneezing before.
Get all lightheaded and you're.
Yeah, because your body's just like sneezing in a row. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But it's always been like that. That's just like your thing.
Yep.
And that's great. And the kids are funny too, because especially when they were little, they didn't get it. So they're like, bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you.
Now they're like, whatever.
Yeah, they're just like, and bless you when you're done. It's funny. All right, well.
All right, let's get started.
You ready?
Yeah.
You ready? Stop talking about sneezing.
I need to wake up.
I know it. We're awake. Our brains haven't decided we're awake yet. That's what this is for. Okay. So today we're talking about putting on the new self. Putting on the new self. Get that old self out of here. Okay. God has made us new, not improved. I like that. God has made us new, not improved. A lot of things can give us a new suit, but only Christianity can give us a new man or woman inside the suit. Put on the new self, and then God will do something amazing. Release what God has put in your life through the Holy Spirit. When we put on the new self, we allow God to work through us. When we put on the new self, we are being transformed into the likeness of God. God created us perfect in his image, yet we chose our own path for our own will and glory. We walked along that path for a long time, and then we came to the cross. Hopefully, we accepted Jesus Christ as our Savior and put on our faith in his death and resurrection. Or put our faith in his death and resurrection. Now we have a new self. God wants to make us as he made us way back when we were pure and when he first created us. He wants to wash us clean. God wants to dwell in us. He wants to walk with us as he did in the garden with Adam and Eve before they had sinned. The new self is God doing something on the inside and our salvation coming out. God puts a desire for himself in our hearts and our minds. And when we begin walking as new men and women in him, the Bible says, take delight in the Lord and he will give you your heart's desires. As we put on the new self, God gives us new desires and renews our minds. He gives us a new appetite for things of God. I pray that you may begin to walk in a new way as the new person that God intended you to be. May you embrace salvation through the sacrifice of Jesus in the cross and start living and thinking in a completely new godly way. So our verses today are Galatians 2:20, and it says, my old self has been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. And so I live in this earthly body by trusting in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. Colossians 3:10 says, put on your new nature and be renewed as you learn to know your Creator and become like him. So I love that it starts out with, we're not new and improved. We're not improved, we're new. So it's a completely new self. We can put a new suit on in a lot of ways, like a front, like changing our habits, changing all the things on the outside. But unless there's a new person on the inside, nothing has actually changed. We can put on costumes all day, but we're not putting on a new identity, a new self. The identity that we're in Christ, our identity is in him, that God has created for us. And when we do that, things actually change. We change everything on the outside naturally changes. There's a verse in the Bible that says, in order, you wash the inside of the cup and the outside of the cup becomes clean, not the other way around. You don't wash the outside of the cup and then the inside of the cup is clean. It's a specific analogy that's used, but I love that analogy because it's like you wash the inside, then the outside naturally is whatever the inside is. You know what I mean? It comes out.
Right. Yesterday, talking about that, there's two times yesterday, two different times, talking about the difference between whether external and internal, and how our mind affects our body, our thoughts,
right,
our physical chemistry, and our movement, our mood, our body altogether. Okay. Our muscles, believe it or not, it affects our muscles. It affects how we move. Our friend, Dr. Mondragon. It sounds like our name, right?
Mondragon.
But anyway, he's really, matter of fact, he went live this morning, I think, too. He had some really good words about depression. And so I posted this one yesterday. I shared it about him speaking about depression, or about our mental health. Okay. And he's a man, this doctor,
he does everything.
He's done everything. I mean, he's been a colonel, and he has
All-American wrestling champion.
Yeah, All-American wrestling champion. And then at 50 years old, he competed again. Started training. And didn't
he go All-American again at age 50 or something?
He won some sort of title. I can't remember exactly, but and then of course he's an accomplished doctor. And so he just has an amazing perspective. But he was talking about how when we are looking down, he had this shirt that says, keep your head up. And he was talking about wrestlers. And he said, as a coach, you tell your students to keep their head up, especially when they're facing their opponent, because that is a weakened position, right? You're looking down. When you're looking down, your body responds, and then your brain responds. And man, I guess I wish I could put it, watch it. But anyway, the thing is that when you put your head down and you're not keeping your eyes up against your opponent, you're putting yourself in a position where you will get pinned. You're
vulnerable.
You're vulnerable. You're not seeing the attack. You're allowing them to get the upper hand, right? And when you have your head down, again, your body follows your head. Okay.
And right.
If you think about it, if you're keeping your head down, and I used to be a wrestler, so that really related to me. Keeping your head down will just it puts you in a position where you're not able to recover from so easily. And if we think about that spiritually, if we think about that in our day-to-day lives, what he was also saying is that when we allow that to be our posture,
all the
head
time
down, and we don't look at people in the eye,
like
our self-confidence goes down.
Yeah.
Our spirit goes down. It's a weakened position. Our spirit responds to that. Our body responds to that. And then once you do that physically, and your spirit is responding, your brain starts releasing those negative hormones. Then you're allowing those thoughts. Say maybe it's the thoughts that cause that head from being down. Well, I'm not good enough. I shouldn't be I'm not good enough to be in the room with these people. I'm not
good enough to do God's calling.
I failed.
Mm-hmm.
And think about that. When you've been hit with overwhelming guilt or stress, what's that posture you're living with? And he was saying that your testosterone goes down, and your body chemistry starts to respond in a negative way. And that transcends in your mood. It transcends on how you interact with people and how you respond physically. But when you keep your shoulders back, your head up, keeping your head up, your body responds chemically with your testosterone going up. Those good positive hormones start to be released. I'm awake. I'm alert.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the negative, even in overwhelming, stressful circumstances.
You're taking a stance of confidence, a stance of ability, a stance of ambition and forward momentum.
You ever see these fighters or these athletes that they're extremely tired, and they should be completely spent, exhausted, yet something within them, they just come out like a lion. They're just their heads up, their shoulders are broad, and they dig within themselves and bring out that energy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And why am I bringing that up? Is going along with what we've been saying. We could allow our past, we could allow the past of yesterday to affect us in the moment of today. We could allow those mistakes to get in our way. And we take that posture of looking down.
Defeated posture.
I always tell my daughter she needs to bring her shoulders back, because her shoulders will roll. And then if her shoulders roll, her head goes forward, and then that causes strain on her neck. Therefore, it causes headaches, causes more pain.
Right.
It just leads to a bunch of different things. And then that pain weakens her spirit. It's just a cascade of a negative effect. It's the opposite is true. Yesterday, let's see if I don't screw this up, but because I didn't bring it up, I just was thinking about it when you were mentioning it. But CL said yesterday, he went live, and at the end of his short little live, he said, don't let what's happening to you
get in the way of what's happening through you.
Yes.
Yep.
I want that on my gym wall.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because God's doing something through us all the time. And so what's happening to us shouldn't get in the way of what's happening through us.
Exactly.
Yeah, that you make such a good point with all the posture stuff, because we talk a lot about when we're renewing our mind, when we're renewing ourselves, when we're putting on the new self, these practical things that we can do to help the process along. To what are the steps that we can take to facilitate this transition, this transformation, this renewal. And so we talk about thoughts that we could be having, talk about replacing our thoughts with new ones, and strategically doing these things to facilitate that. But physically speaking, you can get in such a defeated posture with our phones, just with our attitudes, with whatever we're doing. Your body and your body chemistry will respond to all kinds of things, to your thought patterns, to your environment around you, to the words you're saying to yourself, or to the words that other people are saying, but also to our physical posture. It's not just a musculoskeletal thing. It is a hormonal thing. It is a body chemistry thing. So make sure that you are aware that you're not just like this all the time. And it is a protective stance, but it's also a defeated stance. And neither one of those things is really helpful when you are trying to get out of a dark place, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you're already in that dark place, you're in that hole, and you are trying to get out, this isn't a posture of victory. It's also not a posture of looking for the way out. because you can't see anything. You're looking down. So that's something that I never thought about that until he brought that up yesterday. And that's absolutely right.
Well, it's funny. My sister brings up this boxer, this really young guy from Stockton.
Mhm.
And he's an amazing boxer and champion. But he got me thinking about boxing itself. I used to watch boxing a lot.
Mhm.
And you could tell, a lot of times you could tell the outcome, at least up front, the outcome of the fight from the very beginning, how it's going to go, depending on the beginning. Depending on, the beginning where the ref is explaining the rules and how they're looking at each other and how they're facing each other. And I know that a lot of it's up front, but there are times when you look at the boxers and look at what's in their eyes, and they're looking at their opponent straight faced, looking through them, like, I'm going to go through you. And the other guy, he's trying to keep his eyes on you, but he'll look down. And that's all you need. That's all you need to know is, can this guy, it's like a staring contest, right? But the guy that's not confident, the guy that is telling himself, what's in his head. You're in his head.
Right.
He's not confident in the fight. I don't know if I'm going to beat this guy. I don't know if I'm going to last in the first round. You know all those things by his body language and by the movement of his head and his face or his eyes. And most of the time, it follows suit. That guy struggles. Sometimes the guy will pull out a win. Sometimes he'll survive the first couple of rounds. But he's not in the fight. How many fights?
Right.
I remember even famous boxers, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Sugar Ray Leonard. When they were confident, You saw it in their eyes. You saw it in their body language, right? But when they weren't at their best, their head wasn't in the fight. You could see that. That came out just by their initial body language. A punch hasn't even been thrown, and you understand that. So why am I bringing up boxing? Because look, boxing, what I love about boxing, it really does mimic life. It mimics in so many ways. There's so many different analogies.
Oh my gosh.
How we need to approach life and the enemy.
Yeah.
We have an opponent that is out to defeat us every day. Mm-hmm. And, those of us that are fighting heart disease, I really think you understand what I'm talking about. Every day is a fight. Every day we have to fight off what the opponent is trying to do to us. He's looking through us. He's trying to intimidate us. He's the one trying to tell us you're weak. And so what we do is we take that posture and you're like, you're right.
Right. You believe the lie and you aren't in protection mode and you're not, like you're not confident. And when you're not looking at things with confidence, then you tend to already be defeated, feel defeated. But the thing is that we don't have to look at our situations with confidence because we feel like we can do it. God's saying, look at it with confidence in me. Your confidence lies in me, he said. And that's something that we have to remember, is that even the things, especially the things that we don't feel like we can do, God does for us. God does with us. God lifts us up and carries us through it. He does those things through us. So what we have to be, our job isn't to win at everything and to accomplish everything and to tackle and conquer everything and to beat everything and to be good at everything. Our job is to follow God, okay, be obedient, give our life to him, and walk with him through these situations and allow him to change us into a person that we were made to be, that we were created to be. So this talks about, I wanted to dive into a couple things. This says that, it's renewing our mind, being a new self. So when we talk about renewing our mind and that God's making us a new person, I think it's safe to say that there's probably a lot of people out there that are like, I don't want to be a new person. That's my whole problem, is that I was fine and now I have heart disease and I liked who I was.
I liked who I was, exactly.
I don't need to be a new person. Why do I need to be a new person? Well, number one, we're talking about, there's two different things about that. Number one is this: God wants to make us a new person in him, meaning who we were created to be. So this isn't a totally different person. Like, we don't have the same personality. We don't have the same name. We're not in the witness protection program. Okay. This is something where he's taking us, he's washing us clean. He's renewing us and making us this amazing version of ourselves that is, imagine everything about you being new and not damaged and not jaded and not abused and not tired. And seeing things through God's eyes, mostly. That's the newest part of it, is that it's not just improved, but it's new. It's a new version of us, not someone else.
Right.
So it is us, okay? But also, we should always be wanting to be a new version of ourselves.
Absolutely.
So fighting with the process of becoming a new person, always, and saying, well, I don't want to be someone else. We didn't say being someone else. It's a new and better version of you. It's a new and better version of who do you want to be? We all have this person, whether we admit it or not, that we would love to be. And I don't mean being jealous of other people and not being content with who we are and not being happy with what we've been given. I'm talking about growing, getting smarter, getting wiser, getting better at the things that we love doing, being a better parent, being a better spouse, being a better friend. We all have things that we do and we mess up because we're human. So then we say, don't we want to be better and not do that again? That's called growth. That's called moving forward and doing things in a better way, evolving as a person, growing, right? Becoming a new version of yourself. So that should always be something that you're moving forward and doing. It doesn't mean you're not connected to God or you're not content or you're not grateful or any of that. It actually means that you are connected with God and that you are grateful and that there's more for you.
Right.
And it's not some other identity.
Right. Have you ever thought that whatever you're going through right now, that God is equipping you?
Mm-hmm.
That he's equipping you for what is coming tomorrow, what's coming the next day. He's preparing you for the next season, possibly, of what you have going on in your life. Look, like you said, you may have liked your life. You may, maybe you're very successful.
Mm-hmm.
You've done all the things. You have all the things. You've been very blessed.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're facing this disease. Now you're facing these trials. Now you're facing a huge amount of stress in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Things that just never have happened to you before. Whatever it may be. Think about that. God is equipping you. He's preparing you. He's taking you through this to bless you, to prepare you, mm-hmm. to put you in position so you can continue to succeed, so you can be better, so you can take what you have learned and give it to others. It's one thing when being grateful, okay, for what God has given me, mm-hmm. okay? But how about showing and giving that sense of gratitude, being grateful to being able to serve others, being able to be there for someone else, being able to give advice or to support someone else. That, to me, is the ultimate gratitude. That is mm-hmm. showing God how much you are grateful for mm-hmm. the position that he's put you in. The shift that is going on in your life is by design. It's just, it all depends on how you're going to respond to
it. We just don't like it.
Right.
Something that somebody or that people say a lot to me, and not just to me, I hear it all the time. Actually, we all hear it all the time, is that, well, why didn't God do something about that? Why isn't God in doing something about that? Why isn't God, taking that out of my life? Why isn't God doing something? And God does things all the time. We just don't like how he's doing it. We think he's a genie and he's like, boop, that didn't happen. Boop, gonna take that out. boop, no pain for you. Like he's just like got a little wand and he's like, pew, pew, pew. And that's not even, first of all, that's not even real. That isn't real life. That's not how God operates. And if you think about it, I want you to walk through that. What if he did do that? I don't think that would work very well. Okay. It wouldn't work well.
We wouldn't grow.
We would just be constant babies. We'd be like, take it away, take the next thing away. We wouldn't be able to like deal with anything. We wouldn't be able to help each other with anything. In fact, helping each other would go out the window because we'd all just be like, well, are you going to take it away or what? What are we doing here? You know, nobody would want to do anything for themselves. Nobody would look at their pain as growth. Nobody would be able to like look at the beauty of the human experience. And like, it would be a lot of things that wouldn't work well. And God knows that. He knows exactly who, by the way, not only does God know exactly how we operate the best, he designed us. He literally created us the way we are to operate the way that he knows we should operate, because that's how he made us to operate. He designed the whole thing. And then he's interacting with us exactly the way that we need. But we, like adolescents, just don't like it. We're like, well, why do we have to go through this crap to to like have it work? Because that's the way it works. And that's the best way it works. And it's the most beautiful way that it works. And it's the most beautiful way it works in community, all of those things. So when we say, why didn't God do anything? He did. He prepared you for the next step. And if you were on board and operated in that gift he gave you correctly and understood that's what it was, then the next thing that comes, he already did something. Now you're prepared. Now it's not as painful. Now it doesn't take as long. You ever have a surgery? I had a knee surgery when I was in 7th grade, and it was like the worst thing ever. And I had exactly the same knee surgery on my right knee, or the other knee, the left knee, in 8th grade. So I had the same realignment of my kneecaps done 1 year after another. 2 very different experiences. The 7th grade one, I woke up in a panic, and the nurses were, believe it or not, yelling at me, which is weird, about how I was freaking all the other patients out because I was screaming so loud. I didn't understand where I was. Nobody had prepared me for this. I was freaking out as I was in recovery. I was in an enormous amount of pain. It took me 3 months to recover in therapy just to get my leg moving again. I just had no idea what I was doing. It was the worst thing ever. I just wasn't very good in this process. And through that, I was equipped for what I was going to do the next year. And when I did my 8th grade one, I woke up just fine. I understood what was happening. I knew what to do. I was prepared. I was equipped. I understood. And then I went 30 days. I was recovered. I was rehabilitated 30 days without going to therapy. I just applied what I knew. I did it on my own. I was stronger. I was smarter. I was more equipped, and it was not a big deal. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't always mean it has to be the same experience, but this renewed person that God's making in us, this new mind, he's equipping us through experiences. It's not just a spiritual renewal, which he is. We take on Jesus, we take on God, and take on the Holy Spirit, right? Mm. And it renews us spiritually. It's a transformation that we can't explain. Spiritually speaking, we actually become new. However, there's also a renewing of our mind through experiences over time. It equips us to be this new person, this next version of ourselves. You know, people the other day were talking about somebody's birthday online, and it was so cute. They said, this is you've leveled up to level 43 or something like that. And so like it's a video game. So I'm at level 44 this year, and so I'm really good at life now, right? I'm really like I've leveled up. And it's true though, if you're leveling up every year, right? If you're doing the things, then letting God equip you and renewing your mind over and over again. You're always learning, always looking at your situations and saying, what can I get from this? What can I learn? What can we talked about this week, turning your pain into purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're doing the renewing your mind bit too. God's not just doing the spiritual renewal, but you're actually constantly doing this. And if you're working with God on that, then he is doing something in your life to prepare you and equip you for those things. So you have less pain. So you have more growth. So you have more purpose and productivity that comes out of these situations where you're like, wow, this is for nothing. Why am I going through this? So instead of that, it's like, oh, I see what I need. This is for this. I see why I need to go through this. And by the way, typically it lasts way less time. I mean, it's so much shorter because you're like, I get it. I'm learning the thing. I can move on. And he'll let you usually go through it much more quickly because it doesn't need to take that long because you get it. It's not about him wanting us to be in pain forever. It's about we have to be in pain for as long as it takes to get the job done that's supposed to be done with us. And we are the ones perpetuating that by not being on board, not thinking about what can I get out of this and what can I learn? And God, I want you to walk through this with me.
You know, if we get so consumed by our thoughts, or so consumed by our pain, that then leads to these thoughts that are negative, that are not, they're not fighting off the disease or fighting off the pain. They're feeding it. It gets worse. The pain gets worse. Your posture starts to reflect that, like we were talking about. You start to allow the disease or the pain to define you. If you allow your circumstances to control you and to envelop you, you will miss God's appointment. You will miss what God's doing for you right in front of you. It could be happening. How many times has that happened to us where we are struggling, okay, and we're praying for something,
right?
And I pray a lot like this: Lord, put it right in front of me. Make it so obvious. Right?
I'm just a mere human.
Meanwhile, I'm so caught up in the thing that we're going through. The whole time, God has been putting it in front of me.
You know, that analogy.
The answer has been right there. It's just I didn't like it. I didn't see it because either I didn't like it or I didn't see it because I was so consumed with everything else going on. The answer was right in front of me.
That analogy I said yesterday about the ladder when we're sitting in the pit.
Yeah, that was such a good. Yeah.
It just if you missed it yesterday, I'll reiterate this. So and then I want to get to some comments. So if you're sitting in your hole of darkness and you're just all you can see is your situation, you're in this hole and you're like, I'm just sitting in here and I'm mad and I'm angry and I'm yelling at my pain, and your pain's sitting next to you and you're yelling and the whole time that pain is this ladder. It's shaped like a ladder. It's the ladder you use to get down in the hole, and it's also the ladder you need to get out. So you're sitting in this hole of despair and depression and darkness, and you need to use that pain to get out. That's your catalyst out. That's your growth out, right? You get up that ladder. But the whole time, what you're talking about is God he's just sitting patiently up at the top. He's got you. You're safe in there. You know, he's not going to let anything happen to you, but he's waiting for you to come out because he's sitting right on the edge of that pain, that dark place, just sitting out there with the next thing waiting for you. He's sitting there.
Yeah.
But if you wait too long, it goes to someone else. Someone else is going to do the thing he's wanting you to do. And he's going to say, well, it's time for this to happen. If you're not out here, I'm going to accomplish this, but someone else is going to do it.
Yeah.
And we miss that. Yeah. And he's sitting right there. Here, I have it for you.
Yeah.
But we miss it because we won't just climb out. And I know that it sounds simple. It's not like I'm making it sound like it's simpler than it is. I know that it's not that simple, but it's simple, but it's hard.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
I wanted to jump into some of these comments.
No, I have something to say.
Okay. So, oh, hey, Mom.
Hey, good morning, Mom.
Hobbies. Your 7 tips for your heart doctor video you just posted. Yeah, so that's on our YouTube channel. Exactly. So go check out our YouTube.
I just posted a new video. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out.
Yeah. Let's see. Every day is better. And pray. Don't make the same mistakes. A little stronger. Oh, and your light shine brighter in me every day. Yes, absolutely right. Hey, Lee. Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
God prepared us for the next thing. You're talking to me. Oh, I'm so glad. Yes, exactly. It's like always seeing, gosh, there must be something. Like my daughter with her connective tissue disorder, we're always talking about, man, you wouldn't be allowed to go through this if you weren't being prepared for something big. And it's funny, the bigger the things we go through, I always am like, wow, there must be something big coming that you're going to need to be prepared for, to be equipped for. And she knows that. She understands that. She's like, right, I know my God wouldn't allow me to go through everything if it wasn't for a purpose.
Yeah.
And she's right. There's going to be something. And by the way, here's the beauty of it. Okay. No matter what, think about this. Somebody would say to me, well, what if God didn't have a purpose for that? And I'm just like, perpetuating this thing? And what if it goes the other way? What if she's disappointed because God does this or does that and it doesn't work out the way she thinks God's going to work it out? First of all, it almost never works out the way we think God is going to do it. It's his way, and it's always better, and we never realize how much better it is until afterwards, and we never see it until it's done. And sometimes we never see the end result. But here's the good news, is that if she is always, and this is the same for us too, not just a kid, same for all of us, if we are always looking at what purpose we have in our pain, we never get consumed. We're always thinking about what we can do with it for other people, for ourselves, something positive and something constructive and something productive.
Right.
We're always thinking those things. We never get consumed by the pain and the depression, and we get closer with God. No matter what happens, this attitude, this perspective is the healthiest, most productive perspective, and you don't stay in your pain as long. You just don't. This is the way out. Embracing your pain and saying, what is this going to do for me? Not what is it going to do to me? And moving forward is the way out. Avoiding it, curling up in a ball, trying to fill it with something else, some vice, cigarettes, alcohol, gambling, I don't know, whatever other thing you fill your life with, drugs, people doing just to try to numb the pain. That doesn't make anything change. It actually makes everything change for the worse, and you end up permanently there. Yeah. And so there's only one way. It's through God and through embracing that pain and understanding that there's a purpose behind it and finding out what that is.
Right. So listen, maybe you found yourself, you used to be that person. Maybe you feel like you've missed that appointment that God was calling you to. Maybe you've been that person that just have allowed all the things just to pile on and dictate who you are and what you are. And there's something inside you that is just dying to get out. But now the enemy is using that against you.
It's too late.
And you're too old, you've missed your appointment.
Oh, you have heart disease now.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a lie.
Yep.
Don't allow the past, right, to dictate the moment, your future. If you were that person today, you realize that you want to be present. You don't want to miss God's appointment for you in your life, his assignment, his desire for your life. You don't want to miss it anymore. Don't allow that past. We've been talking about all week about shedding the past, allowing you to let go of that old you, who you are. Remember, this could be who you are 10 years ago, a year ago, 10 seconds ago. Don't allow that negative person, that old man, that old woman to dictate the new person that God will have you to be. I'm wondering how many of you guys, if you know us, we love The Chosen, and we've been saying it all over. I'm wondering if you guys, let me know in the comments if you watched The Chosen, what episode you watched, if you watched last week, what do you think? And did you guys see, it was mainly surrounded about the paralyzed man at the
pools of Bethesda, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he was sitting by the pool. And this pool is, and look, if you haven't watched the episode, spoiler alert, I'm sorry. Turn the volume down or whatever else. You've been warned. We've sent this out to everybody. If you haven't watched it, that's not my fault. But I have to share this because it was a powerful moment. This spring or this pool, it would bubble up, and there would be people with all different types of ailments surrounding it, needing healing. And they believed that if they went into this pool at the right moment, they would be healed. God would heal them. And so this man has been paralyzed his whole life. His younger brother, he felt abandoned him. He has really nothing to offer. So he basically camped out, lived his life camping out by this pool and just trying to wait for the moment to get into the pool. Every time he would try, he would crawl. Someone would kick him or pound on him or prevent him from getting there. He just could not get there. He would try so many times and so many times. And then finally, it just consumed him. The failure consumed him. And he just watched people do it. He just finally just gave up until this one moment where Jesus showed up. And it took a little bit, but then he recognized what was happening. And when Jesus told him to stand, he had to have faith. Jesus asked him, do you want to walk? Do you want to be healed? And he's at first it was like,
are you going to carry me to the water?
Right.
He said. He goes, you're going to carry me to the water?
Right. He automatically assumed that, oh, isn't that what we do? Oh, you're going to do it for me? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. No, I'm not going to carry you. I'm not going to do that. It's a basic question. Do you want to be healed? How many times has God done that? Where he will ask you just a straight question. And you're like, well, this and
what about this, Lord?
What about this?
This?
Oh, you're going to do that? And he's no, answer my question. And then once you grasp onto that and you're like, well, yes. Okay, then he moves forward. So he had to step into his faith. He had to act upon his faith. He couldn't allow the past anymore about what had happened to him. He went on about how no one would help him, and he got consumed about how he's been treated and all these things. Yet his healer was right in front of him.
And Jesus says, I didn't come and ask you about everybody else and how they've treated you and what's happened in the past. I asked you if you want to be healed. I asked you about you.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, oh,
right.
Yeah, yes, I do.
And sometimes it's just that simple. We can't allow what was done to us or our perceptions of what we think how it needs to be done. You said sometimes we don't like the answer. Sometimes we think it needs to play out this way, and it's only going to be done this way. And God comes to us and says, no, I have a different plan.
Right.
And it's going to be a simpler plan.
And you're going to need to do something.
But you're going to need to do something about it. You're going to have faith. It starts with our faith. And it may seem to be odd. It may seem to us that it's out of order. How could that happen? But always know to lead with your faith. If God is calling you to lean in on your faith and requiring you to trust him, know that's the answer. That's the path. If you're confused of which way to go, it's the path that leads to building your faith. It's the path that may seem impossible.
Yeah, a lot of the times it's the path that seems impossible.
But it requires great faith.
But Jesus said to the man, okay, stand up. So not only did he have to do something, Jesus wasn't going to carry him anywhere. He said, stand up. This is an impossible thing. He's been paralyzed for 30 years. Okay. And he's like, I can't even feel my legs. And all of a sudden he reaches down and he hits his leg, and he can feel his legs. And he's like, oh, and so he jumps up, and he's like, all of a sudden, his faith in that moment that he and what he wanted so badly, and just the fact that he was staring Jesus in the face and listening to him and then doing what he said to do and shedding all of those doubts and old, hurts and things that happened, all the things that were in the way of how impossible this was or how possible it was. So he jumped up, and so he had to do something and that he didn't think was possible. How many times has God asked us to do things that we didn't think were possible, but God's the one facilitating it, but we just have to step into it. Yeah. We just have to do the thing. We have to take the first step. And all of a sudden, he literally took the first step, and he was running around. People were like, this shouldn't happen on the Sabbath and da-da-da. And he looked at this guy. He goes, I can walk. Do whatever you want. Put me in jail. I don't care. I can walk right now. And it's that renewed mind in him that he didn't care about all this anything else except that Jesus healed him. So when we talk about a renewed mind, this isn't something that we don't want. If you haven't experienced it yet, trust me, it's not what you think. It is incredible. And you deal with things differently. You shed the things that don't matter anymore. You see things through God's eyes. You see people differently. It's all better. It's not a burden. It's not a weight. It's not a cage. It is unreal and it's indescribable, and you just know. And when people ask, well, how do you know? How will I know? And the reason why no one can give you an answer of how you will know is because if you are asking that question, you don't know, then it hasn't happened. You just know. There is no question when God is present and involved. No question.
And that is how we step into our new life. We have new experiences. We see things totally new.
Well, in the devotional, it talks about how God gives us new desires and seeing new things that God wants us to see. We see things differently.
Well, think about this man that we're talking about that was healed. I love the part where he's running. Okay. And he's all over the place. Okay.
Yeah.
And he runs into somebody. He's like, sorry, it's my first day or something like that.
He's like, it's my first time. I don't know what I'm doing with my legs.
Right.
It was
so it was
funny.
all new to him.
Yeah.
But think about that. Imagine his experience. His whole life has been dependent on people and dependent on, he couldn't walk. So his perspective was always here.
Yeah.
Now he's seeing people eye to eye. He could get places where on his own 2 feet. That's a whole new life.
One of my first experiences that I can remember with God, and this isn't even when I was young. Keep in mind, I was converted or saved or came to God or whatever when I was 15. But my walk with him until I was about 30 was a totally different thing than when I was 30 and I was actually baptized. And the baptism was just a declaration of what had already happened. It wasn't like the baptism, obviously, but that was when that marked that time. And when I was younger, I would try to follow God, and I really screwed up my life a lot between the ages of 20 and 30. It was just a mess. And I wasn't really walking with God. I believed in God, and I believed that the Bible was true. And I was like, God was like my standard or whatever. I had the standard, that was more religious, okay, than anything. When I truly started,
it was that dashboard Jesus.
It was, it
was that idol that was on your dashboard, and you addressed him when
I had not been renewed. I had not given my life to God the way that I needed to. I had not ever actually started walking with him. Okay.
Right.
So there's a reason I'm saying that, because when I changed, when I finally decided, I finally just threw everything down and said, God, I don't want any of that anymore. I don't want whatever has happened in my life. I don't want any of this, these people, none of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of who I am. I'm sick of all this stuff that I'm doing. I'm sick of all this life that I have. I need something new. And when I finally was able to walk with God and be renewed, one of the things that happened my whole life, I never had anyone I could truly rely on. Never had a family member I could truly rely on. Never had anybody in my life that wouldn't let me down. And God didn't let me down. God was my father now. God was my family. And that reminded me of that when you said that guy said it was my first time, forgive me. Sorry. She bumped into him and, he bumped into her and it's his first time. I feel like that was how I was with God. I'm sorry, God. I want to lean on you. It's my first time. I've never been able to truly lean on anybody. I've never been able to truly have faith that you're definitely not going to let me down. And he never has since.
Right.
But that was new to me. And so I understand if you have an issue with leaning on God because you've never been able to lean on anything and anyone ever, he will not let you down. And here's the thing is it doesn't mean nothing bad will ever happen in your life, right? It just means that you will now have a family to help you through it. And that you will be able to walk through it with faith and with confidence that there's a reason for it and that it's going to be okay on the other side and that he's got you and he loves you. And it was just a really cool thing that I finally got to breathe and settle into that. And that's part of renewal. I was able and allowed to then renew my mind.
Yes.
Because I didn't have to constantly be in survival mode.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
And so that's where we as hurt people fall. It's hard to lean on something when you've always had to only lean on yourself.
Right.
So I wanted to share that story just because I know a lot of people are like, it's so easy for you to say, you just lean on God. Like, no. If you don't understand, if you don't know us, we'll get into sharing more of our stories, of course, as you stick with us. But we've had rough pasts. And our life now is just an absolute utter blessing. And it's all God all day. And it's because we decided that we were sick of all that garbage and that we wanted to give it to God.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
over time, it's become this.
Yep. Absolutely.
Whew.
Look, hey, I hope you guys got something out of this week. I truly hope that you have now seen ways that you could step into this new life. You see a new life ahead of you and that you are empowered to let go of your old perception, let go of what you think your life is going to look like.
Yep.
That let go of the thoughts that you can't be the person that God wants you to be. You can't be the person that you've always seen yourself being. That's not true. I'm hoping this week brought some revelation to you that God is waiting for us to position ourselves for blessing, for this divine appointment. So look, if you guys enjoyed this, if you got something out of this week, out of today, please hit like, share this with your friends and family. If you see someone that is struggling, someone that is struggling with their past, they can't just seem to get out of it. Share this with them and pray about it. Pray that God speaks to them, not that we speak to them.
Right.
That God uses our voice, uses this platform to speak directly to their hearts and in a way that only God could speak to them. So that's why we ask you to share. That's why we ask you to like it. So people can see this more. Look, by you guys hitting these things, I'm told it helps the algorithm with Facebook and with YouTube. Yep. And it just brings this to people's attention.
Absolutely.
So that's why we ask for those things, not to build us up, is to bring more attention to God's what word. We're trying to do.
And, remember, this week was all about finding our way back from heart disease, finding our way out of heart disease. But remember what it is. I just want to remind you what I said earlier this week many times, is that it's finding your way forward. So just remember, with God, with a renewed mind, putting your past behind you, putting that new self on and turning your pain into purpose and seeing the hope that's before you, climb that ladder out, okay, and get that new thing going with God, and then you will find your way forward with heart disease. So we thank you for watching this week. This series was amazing. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can get notified for all the things that we're putting on our YouTube channel. We absolutely love your support there, and we thank you for joining us this week.
All right, guys, have a great weekend, and we will see you guys next week.
God bless.
Bye.